said, okay, let me know when it's 4 or 5 feet higher than that, because we cannot open this door with this pressure in here. We have to equalize the pressure on each side of the bulkhead to open the door. So I told the men, be ready. As soon as I get the word, we're going to open that hatch and we're all going to go aft. Finally, the word came down to abandon ship. So otherwise, I don't know if we'll ever get out of there. If they never said that word, we'd have to stay there. We probably would have died there. We lost 100 men got killed and 500 men got seriously wounded and burnt on the West Virginia. Okay, anyway, we got down, we opened that hatch and went into the next compartment, and the water was flooding from our space into that. So we were swimming in there, and there was one more compartment behind there. We had to open that hatch. There was no water behind that, but the water was filling fast. We opened up there, and there was 6 new seamen down there. They were breaking out of for supper, for lunch that much. All our freezers were on the 3rd deck, and they were pretty scared. They were only been aboard for about 2 weeks, and I said, well, there's a hatch back there further where you bring all the meat down, and that was 30 feet up, and they still had a line coming down from a davit. And I said, why don't you go up that line? He said, we don't know how to climb a line. It was only about as big, as thick as my thumb. So I said, hold on that line. When I was in high school, I could go up 10 seconds, ring the bell, and back down before the others were even halfway up. So I got up the top, got up there, and stepped outside. I wondered, well, how am I going to get these men out here? There was no ladder in there. There was just this one line down there. And so I got out on the deck, and I looked over in number 4 turret. There was a large 4x4 with a big cargo net wrapped around it. That cargo net was put out in the water. We had 2 airplanes aboard, and the planes could come up in the net. They pick them up and put them on top of the turret. So I got over there. I didn't have a knife, but there was a young Marine there. He was a bugler. I said, do you have a knife? He had one in his pocket, and I said, give me it. We started cutting that cargo net off, that 4x4, and all the sides of the knife all came off, and the rivets were cutting my hand. It was bleeding. So I looked around. I saw there was a fire axe on the wall, on the bulkhead. I said, go get that fire axe. I started chopping that cargo net off that 4x4. We took it over and dropped it down the hatch, and it put it on the dogs, and it just fit down there just nicely. And I told the men, climb the cargo net and come on up here. In the meantime, the men were coming up. They were trying to go over to the Tennessee, and they couldn't because they cut the lines. And some people were trying to get over there and fell between the 2 ships. Well, those ships come together, it would have killed them. So I told the men that I was saving, get some lines and get those men, have them stand on that. There's a big armor belt, goes around, the battleship sticks out about a foot, and you could stand down there and they'd be safe. So then I come back to the hatch. The men said everybody's out, but there's 4 men down there who have broken legs and arms they can't get up. So I got a stoke stretcher. There was a stoke stretcher and hatch there in the hallway. I dropped the stoke stretcher down, and they brought them up. And I told them, get underneath number 4 turret, because there's planes were still bombing and firing at us. And when I got up there, the men were topside. They were throwing onions and potatoes at these planes, and these pilots were ducking it. They thought we were throwing hand grenades at them. and because all the ammunition was locked up and they couldn't get any ammunition going at all. Everything was locked up down below. Okay, so I saw out there was a lot of small boats in the water, and I was saying, come on in, I want to get these men off of here. And they wouldn't come in, so I got a life vest I put on, and I went in the water. I started swimming out. The next thing I know, a big motor launch from the California came up, and where's that picture at? California's right there. They put a boat hook out, and
This is the California?
No, that's the West Virginia, and the Tennessee is behind it. That motor launch here is from the California.
Okay.
You see, he was backing down full, and so much oil on my hands and everything, I almost slipped off.
You?
That's me in the water.
Wow. You in the water.
So when he got me aboard, I said, why did you back down so fast? I says, I almost couldn't get up there. He says, look over to your left. There's a battleship, the Nevada, was coming right down on us. It would have run right over me. So as I got in the back there and the battleship went by, she was going about 10 or 12 knots. She shouldn't be going that speed in the harbor. She was going so fast that the small boats were trying to catch up the captain who was of the Nevada, and the executive officer were not aboard. It was a first-class quartermaster who got the Nevada underway. And so the coxswain on the California said, you want to go in there? I said, no, her bows are all burning up. She had a torpedo in her bow. She's never going to get out of the harbor. So as she went by the Oklahoma was laying right in the water, about 45 degrees. She was going by so fast she made a wake and hit the battleship next to her, and she just turned that Oklahoma upside down. And all the men that were topside was climbing the side and on the bottom of that Oklahoma. So I said, I got some men on the West Virginia on the North Fork Tour. I'd like to get them. He said, we got to get those men off the Oklahoma. They were royal, and they were seriously wounded down there. So we went over to the Oklahoma and loaded all the men we could, took them over to the 1010 dock. I said, I'm not going to get out here. I'm going to go back to the West Virginia and get those men. So on the way back, there was a captain's gig from the West Virginia. There was nobody in it. So I told him to take me over to that captain's gig and give me somebody that can run that diesel engine. We've got 2 boats, we can go get more men. So I went over to he got us aboard, we got the engine underway, and we started heading towards the West Virginia. About that time, some high altitude bomb dropped a 1,000-pound bomb down number 1 toward on the Arizona, and she blew up, bumped us right out of the water about 6 feet, and she plopped back down in. I said, my God, we're still afloat. So we headed for the West Virginia. The ship was trying to level off, but she wasn't still heavy in water on the quarterdeck, so I ran the gig, put the bow right up on the quarterdeck, got on number 3 turret and told the men, get in here. We've got to get away from here. Because the planes on the West Virginia had fallen down on the deck and started a fire. So there was, the whole after end of the ship was afire, and the oil all over the ship. You can see all that smoke, all that oil is burning there. So this is the first time I've seen a picture that big. I had a little picture of myself in there, and I told my wife, I says, this is me in the water. She said, you're bullshitting me. I said, no, that's me. So she wouldn't believe me. So when I retired, we went back east. We went to the Roosevelt Museum, and in there they had a picture like this, 5 foot by 6 foot, said Pearl Harbor on it. And I told Betty, I says, who's that in the water there? She says, that's you. And I says, that's what I've been telling you for years.
So John, I hesitate to interrupt John here, but I want him to tell 2 more really quick things. You guys can hang on to give him a couple extra minutes. Okay, and so John's going back and forth rescuing these guys in the water. That's after he brought them up out of the bottom of the ship. And then you went over to the dock and really quickly, and we can maybe let John grab the microphone again a little bit later. Thank you. But tell us real quickly about when you got harassed by the guy on the dock. Or you can tell when you got stopped at the dock and almost thrown. Yeah, we can tell the story. And then real quickly, John's going to tell you he's an expert welder. What he did. You can tell about cutting the hole real quick. And then we'll let the next person on. But what a great man, and thanks for being here, John.
I'm sorry I'm talking so long here, but I could go for an hour like this.
But I don't even know if you used up your time, but thank you, John.
Anyway, I got the men back, and I loaded up the ship, and I had to take them over to the sub base because the planes were still bombing us, and I'm surprised they didn't torpedo us. I mean, machine gun us because the captain's gig was all white. By the time we got back over to the sub base, so much oil, all the curtains in there, and everything is black. So anyway, I dropped the men off, and I was going back to Oklahoma and get more men. And there was a young ensign on the dock down there, and he said, West Virginia, come back here. I didn't give you permission to leave the dock. So I went back over there, went ashore, then I said, what's the trouble? He says, you cannot be the coxswain of a captain's gig. You haven't got a hat on. Your uniform is black. He says, you're on report. And I grabbed him by the collar and I shook him and I says, I'm going to drop you in the drink and wake you up. He says, I can't swim. I said, how did you ever get in the Navy? He said, I had somebody fill my swim for me. He was a college graduated and never going to the academy. So I had to go up there and see the